Let's get my guy Ben all niced up, ready to go.
Hey, if you want a jacket, I've got a couple spares.
This fucking guy. Appreciate everybody that's jumping in for the live stream right now. I am with my guy Ben Davis, aka the Bane. First and foremost, how the fuck did you come up with that name? Obviously, we know the Bane from Dark Knight and Batman and all that stuff. But what kind of spoke out to you in terms of going with that name?
You know, it's interesting because the origin of it isn't really rooted in Batman. I was a big Batman fan growing up. I loved the Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, but it really was as simple as I thought it was a cool name, and I didn't see a lot of other people with that online moniker out there, right? So I started doing Twitch streaming in November of 2020, and for me on Twitch.
Sorry, one thing I'm going to get you to do. Let's bring that mic up a little bit closer.
We'll get closer. Get a little more intimate. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'll get closer. You know, for me, it was really important to have a character. I didn't want to be just myself, Ben Davis. I wanted to have this version that I could construct and control exactly who it is, what it is. I just felt like that would create a better experience. And so I landed on the name The Bane November 2020. And over the course of 2021, when I got deeper into MMA Twitter and the esports commentating and all that side of things, it just carried over. And then, you know, midway through the year, I just decided to rebrand completely as that. And it's funny, now that I don't really do Twitch streaming as much, it's like the one thing that's kind of stuck and perseverance. I feel like, you know, it's the one thing I had to carry from that day, you know. But yeah,
no, it's awesome that you actually got like legit graphics for it and all that stuff. Like you went balls deep in it.
Yeah,
right?
Unfortunately,
you just gonna put.
I wasted so much money. Oh my god, yeah, bro. I was on Fiverr and I was like looking for graphic designers.
Shout out Fiverr. Shout out my guy in Pakistan. Doing all my graphics and shit.
Less of a shout out in like 2 seconds. I got so fucking scammed because there was this one graphic designer who I loved what they were doing. I loved the look of their designs, and I sent him $40. And I guess it was just something in the verbiage, the vocabulary. I paid for I thought that I was paying for something else. And so when I only got one image, one little graphic, I was like, hey, $40?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's steep. And so thankfully, G's FX, he helped me design the new one with the cool photo. I like that one a lot more. I feel like it looks cool. People mistaken me as a fighter, which is especially like it
well, what do you expect? You got the fucking
I'm wearing boxing gloves. People aren't gonna go look at that and be like, oh, he's a commentator.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
The more I guess more dominant thing would be the fighter, but no, so that's where it's evolved to from like because I had like a cartoon graphic, you know what I mean, where it was like it was I will say this actually, I did use the Bane. It's like a cartoon version from the animated Batman show. I did use a version of him as my logo. And so early days, I was thinking of making merch, and I was on Custom Ink and I was making some t-shirt designs, and I called up Custom Ink and I was like, hey, could I get these words like the Bane gang on the arms? I was like, that'd be great. And she was like, oh, I'm looking at your logo now. Is that a copyrighted character? And I was like, maybe. And so,
do you watch Batman? Then no.
I was like, then no. Do you know what DC is? No? Then yeah, it's not. It's totally not. Just print the fucking shirts, man.
Yeah. I told you when I got in here that I actually brought you a gift that I thought we can enjoy while we're doing the show.
Yes,
and I am banking on your commentating prowess to help us introduce it.
I brewed for those with a fighting spirit, Modelo Especial. From Guadalajara. Where's the fuck is it from? Sonora?
Especial. I don't know. I wish it would say, but it doesn't.
Born and raised south of the border, supporting the youth over the years. Modelo! Go grab one today.
There we go. Popping some for the podcast here. You know, for those of you that have been on the channel, I've been watching Combative Swords from back in the day. You guys know I used to do this a lot with the guests that I had on, and you know, given the fact that this is my first meeting with Mr. Bane, I wanted to make sure that we had a little bit of fun. We're going to be with you guys for about an hour or so. Not 100% sure if the Tarps off guys are going to be swinging by, but if they do, we'll be able to talk some Tarps off with them as well. But cheers, my man.
Pleasure.
Appreciate you doing the show and taking out the time because I know you're prepping.
No. Thank you. This guy drove, you said what, hour plus?
Hour 20 minutes.
That is ridiculous to me. I really appreciate that, man.
Bro, I enjoy driving. Like I legitimately enjoy driving. And luckily I got somebody out here that I'm going to be able to crash with afterwards. But regardless, I as soon as I knew that you were coming into town, I felt like I needed to know a little bit more about you.
Sure,
And then I'm
yeah.
sure, everybody who's been following you and really just been attaching onto the whole Bane thing over the last couple months, I thought they would really appreciate it as well. And what better time than like one of the biggest gigs of your career to this date, right?
The biggest. No, definitely the top. So I completely agree with you. No better time.
We'll get to the commentating thing,
Absolutely.
but we talked a little bit in terms of how you got to where you got with the name The Bane and all that, right? And I went back on your Twitter account and I saw that you joined December of 2020.
Yeah.
What kind of pushed you to start it though? Like what
Why? So yeah, it's interesting. I've been such a fan of mixed martial arts since high school, right? So my first UFC event that I watched was 214. I think that's John Jones versus DC2.
Yes.
And it was at Buffalo Wild Wings. And my buddy, my former best friend in high school, he was like, dude, you got to come and watch this event. And I was like, sure, and I go. Didn't really know much about it. Of course, didn't really know any of the fighters. But the atmosphere when Jones landed that head kick and DC stumbling, everybody's, going insane. I couldn't get enough of it. And everyone was so nice. That was really the other thing that motivated me to get deeper into the scene at that time and watch events more consistently, is because I just felt it like there's such a nice, comfortable atmosphere, which is kind of weird to say. It's hard to articulate.
With guys punching each other,
with guys punching each other in the face,
head.
and everyone's like wearing like a Harley Davidson biker jacket. It doesn't look like that kind of crowd, but just some of the nicest people. And I hadn't really felt that way about different sports. I played football in high school for a brief period of time and enjoyed playing it, but watching it never really grasped onto it, right? I couldn't get that enjoyment out of it. I just felt it was somewhat slow paced. There's flags all the time, timeouts even more often. And that's only been exacerbated as the years have gone on. With the NFL, everything's a flag these days, right? And not to shit on my soccer friends, but fuck, I can't watch soccer, man.
90 minutes of dudes just fucking.
I know. I respect it, dude. The cardio that these guys have is ridiculous. You're running 11 miles in such a short period of time or some shit like that. But it's just not for me. My dad is a massive Dodgers fan, born and raised in Burbank. And so baseball was a big part of our upbringing. But it's just not exciting, right? It's like you go to a baseball game for the ambiance, for
of course,
the sitting down and the beers and that whole
experiences
thing
that you have, like being with the people that you're with.
Exactly, it's not the sport almost, right? And so with mixed martial arts and UFC, it really felt like a great combination of that fan interaction, that atmosphere, as well as genuinely just the most exciting thing that you could watch. And so from 2014 on, really just started becoming deeper of a fan. And did I say 2014? Like 2017, I think.
2014. I'm like
2006, guys, is when Brock Lesnar. Relatively recent, but the Twitter started. I joined because it was just a space to get engaged more. Really. I mean, it's as simple as that. I saw that there was a community, and I was like, because I went to a Catholic high school. And so not a lot of people liked cage fighting, naturally.
Of course not.
You know what I mean? They wouldn't go watch it at a bar on Saturday and then be in church on Sunday.
Exactly.
I wouldn't like it. And so there was a big community on Twitter, and I just wanted to interact and get involved. And so those early days, I think my Twitter name is, I think it was Ben's MMA. And so you can sort of see the very close switch up and rebrand to Bane from Ben's. It's not that far off from my regular name. So I think Ben's MMA was what I started with, and then just, got deeper and really enjoyed the time that I had in interactions. And now I spend way too much fucking time on Twitter, man.
Bro, it takes up a lot of your time if you get a little bit too deep into it. But we got some great characters in the MMA Twitter community, obviously, right? You got to spend time with our guy Mac Malley over there last week at the UFC 269 card. I believe there's a bunch of other people that I'm sure you met up with as well. But there's something about you, man. You got like that ick factor in a sense, right? Like you just have that, like the videos that you make and like the comedy and all that type of shit. Like you seem so natural with it in a sense. It doesn't seem too forced. Like, do you have a background in like theater or some shit? Like, what are you doing in college and all that type of stuff?
I was gonna say, it seems natural by design. It's really not. I mean, a lot of the shit that I post is just random stuff. But if it's a video, if it's something that I clearly put a little bit more time into, there's a bit of crafting into it. And it would sound super narcissistic if I was like, these are my magnum opuses. Like, these are such great pieces of, character work. No, it's not that. It's just, like I said earlier about the character. It's sculpted, it's crafted. It's something that I know will probably, I don't want to use the term do well, but like I know people would like it. I think people would enjoy it. I enjoy it. And to get to my background, yeah. So I was an actor for a number of years. Way back in middle school, I started at this place called Deering Acting Studio, which I love, absolutely adore.
That's out of California or Arizona?
Arizona, yeah.
Arizona.
And I'm still quite close to those guys. And back in that time, I was probably 10, 11 years old. And man, I had a problem when I was younger with just saying stupid shit all the fucking time. Like probably most 11-year-olds.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
But it was just, you know, lack of filter, lack of timing, and lack of place. Those were some of my biggest issues. And I started taking these just acting classes. But the thing that really connected was improv for me. So I started doing the improv classes at Deering, and then I got in their improv troupe, and I started out on the teen group, the teen troupe, and moved up to the collective, which is sort of like the younger adults and things like that. And then eventually made my way to the main stage, where it was like the owners of the studio and the guys who'd been around for years. You know, I was able to act and you know, perform with them in shows. And I did, God, man, I did so many fucking improv shows. And that's the beauty of improv. I highly suggest for anyone that wants to learn more about public speaking, more about interpersonal skills, do improv, because you gain so fucking much that you really don't even realize. Improv, of course, people are scared of, because it's like, oh, you're on stage in front of dozens of people and you don't have a script. You have to create shit out of nothing. That's obviously the very scary thing. But what you miss out on is, you know, if you look at it like that, but the reality is you're listening. You're just hyper listening to people, your stage partners, the audience, everybody. You're hyper listening, body language, facial expressions, cadence, rhythm, tempo, and what you're saying. Like that's it. That was the biggest skill that I gained. And I've lost a bit of it. Like my edge got dulled by not doing it for a couple of years. But when I was, you know, in there for a couple times a week and performing weekly, monthly, like it genuinely was, man, I felt like I was on fire in terms of listening and connecting and being able to then create and build comedy out of it. And that led to a lot of theater in high school. You know, I did community theater and then high school theater. And while I don't think that it was necessarily as constructive or additional to my skills as improv was, my ability to act in those spaces was improved because of improv significantly.
I feel like a lot of that has to do with confidence though too, right? Like
there's
one thing to just turn on a fucking camera and start talking, but it's another thing to believe what you're saying and actually like want to, you know, make people feel where you're coming from, right? That's
I think so. Yeah. And in the sense where I feel a lot of people in acting, they go 50% with shit because they want to be like, oh, like, is it landing? Like, are you guys liking it? But I think the true test is if you can just go 100% all the way to the wall, regardless of what people will really think. And within acting, at least in the Arizonan community scene, there was, I don't know, I felt there was a lot of that where if you just went as hard as you possibly could in an audition, or if you just showed up at rehearsal and were given it 110%, I mean, you'd probably get a role. That being said, there was also a lot of like politics and bureaucracy involved with casting decisions. And oh, well, you know, Dave Johnson was the biggest donor this season. So Michelle, you get the lead. It's
for sure.
There was that going on.
Is there still interest in terms of getting back into the acting, or is there a complete change in your North Star in a sense, right? Like where are you headed towards now? Because obviously you got the commentating gig coming up this weekend. You've done esports commentating in the past as well. Where is Bane's like where's
trajectory? No, that's a great point to bring up, because I had some serious conversations with myself when I was nearing the end of high school and then graduating high school, because at that time, you know, I'd won a couple regional awards for acting and was considering really going deeper in it, you know, and studying it and maybe moving out to LA and trying that whole starving artist type route, which a lot of my friends have done and are doing, and, you know, more respect to them. But it just wasn't for me really, because I wanted something more sustainable. I wanted something that I felt would be more secure.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be broke or in a degree where I feel like I'm not going to have a good chance of getting success. Because that's the reality of acting, man, is you can be so talented, but there's a lot of people that are so talented.
There's a very small percentage of people that actually make a living properly off it. And when they do, they're fucking millionaires.
And it's so luck oriented and networking oriented. And a lot of the people are born into those situations. You know, not to shit on Billie Eilish, because like I fully, bringing something up. You know, I like her music a lot. I think that she's very talented. Same with her brother. I think his name's Phineas or whatever he goes by. They're both great, but you look at their parents, and her parents are like super established. I think the producers, there's something big in the music
They're already
industry.
within the music industry.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're born with just this like inherent advantage. And I felt like being 18 years old, graduating high school, not having an agent, not having a Disney show when I was 12 years old. I didn't go through that route where a lot of people typically find that success and find those next opportunities. I was like, my window is closed.
Yeah.
That's really what I thought. I felt like my window was closed for acting and I needed to pivot. So I went to ASU, right? And so I'm in my final year there, final semester, but I was, you know, okay, what can I pivot to? I chose finance.
Okay.
So I've been studying finance for the last. Yeah, that's like a very long distance from acting. You know what I mean?
For sure. But it's definitely way more stable than, you know.
Yeah, way more stable. But fuck, dude, it's so unenjoyable.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
It's, you know, and what it is like I'm a decently intelligent person. Yeah. You know, but going to the honors college there, Barrett, you're surrounded by people who had like acceptances to Yale and these Ivy League areas, but they chose the more fiscally responsible route, which was the in-state honors college. And I just like immediately had so much imposter syndrome my freshman year because I was like,
I don't belong here.
I didn't belong here. This is the only place I applied. And
thank God I'm good at acting.
Yeah, my GPA was decently below the average. I don't know why I'm here. Like that was something that I had to grapple with, is being in a completely new environment, of course, new field of study, and then also not really being able to relate with the community around me. I was like, these guys are so intelligent. The points of similarity are a bit different. And I will admit, I was dating someone at the time, and it was long distance. And
was she your end? Was she your end?
No, so she's a great girl. We're good friends now. But the problem with a long distance relationship when you're going to college, especially when you're starting in college, is you're torn between FaceTiming her every night or going out and meeting people, making friends. So that freshman year, I really didn't have a ton of social opportunities, and that kind of hindered me the rest of my college experience, because that's such a crucial time to.
Are you living on res out there, or are you living at home?
On res sounds like reservation.
Well, that's what we call it up here. Like you live in the residence halls that they have there, or campus, live on campus.
Mohawk land or the Navajos, man? Which one?
I'm sorry, my Canadian slang is coming in the way right here. But are you living on the campus, or are you living?
I'm off campus. So with Barrett, they require you to live on campus 2 years, and that was a really good experience. I had the same roommate both years. One of my best friends, Kyle. He's a fantastic guy. We get along great. But my junior year, I had an apartment by myself, a studio, which was fun for a period of time until March when COVID hit. And I was just stuck in my fucking studio apartment and couldn't do anything. And the problem with Union, not to shit on them, but it's built out of concrete. It's like very concrete oriented in their design and interior work. And so I felt like I was in prison.
Oh my God. Like an insane asylum or something.
Dude, literally, dude, my mental health like jumped off a cliff. You know, 2020 moving forward. But this year, my last year, I'm living with 3 other guys in another apartment off campus. Campus.
It's not Modelo. It's not Modelo.
Yeah, it's not Modelo. I'm a third of the way through the first one. I'm already like, dude, this is crazy.
I love it. No, it's awesome that you managed to eventually make that transition into the MMA world. And one thing that you're learning yourself, and even myself, to get to the point where I'm at with my MMA Lock of the Night thing, is that we can almost do anything that we want and be our own bosses at this point in time, where social media, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that type of stuff, it's just wide open for us to actually put material and content on there. And the difference is putting content that you're actually proud of. Right, that's the main thing. A lot of people just turn on a webcam, talk about some fights, and turn it off, and then expect that to be enough. But like, put some work into the graphics, put some work into the equipment, put some work into showing that you give a fuck.
Driving an hour and 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Completely.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the elbow grease, man. It's the extra mile. It's you know,
that's what you're doing with your comedy shit, though, right? Like you are just turning on your phone and doing some fucking content, but you're like putting a little bit of thought into it too, right?
There's a little bit of thought in the sense where you see maybe a minute and 10 of a 7-minute video that I've reduced down. You know what I mean? Like it's just like selecting which bits are the best, and while that's maybe not as intense as driving without the equipment,
exactly.
There's just still that thought. And I would say the one thing that I've been doing with with the Twitter, the two I guess creative projects that I've been putting out. It's this thing called the finishing sequence.
I fucking love that.
Thank
I've been
you.
retweeting that shit.
That means a
I
lot.
love that.
That
I
means a
love it.
lot. It's something that I know doesn't do well in terms of like the numbers of people retweeting or watching it. But it really is a task for me because, first of all, finding those clips. Second of all, stringing them together in sort of a storytelling kind of way. And third of all, the analysis.
Yeah.
You know, I trained for a year in mixed martial arts, never competed, never had that deep knowledge of the sport. And so whenever I do analysis of it, I try to go more than surface level, right? I want to provide as much education as I can, but the analysis for me is interesting. Like if I can notice something and be like, oh, that's a theme that played into the ending. I don't know. I feel like I'm building my skills, and then that flows into the commentating. That flows into the other aspects of the MMA because I'm, doing that. But the thing about the finishing sequence is, and a lot of the things on Twitter that I do, aside from maybe the impression videos and just random tweets and shit, a lot of stuff that I create, this is gonna sound weird. You might understand this. It's for me. So I say that in a sense where it's not for doing the reps. It's not for the people. It's not to gain notoriety. It's not for attention. It's purely for me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to build my skills. I'm trying to figure out where my niche is. And that's why all of the commentating stuff, it's just reps. It's just doing shit. And I'm so happy that people enjoy what I do. And I've met some great people, and I'm so appreciative for the space on Twitter that I have. And it's not huge. I mean, it's not massive by any means, but
to garner as much attention and following as you have in a calendar year, right? You started on Twitter in fucking December of last year.
Especially when I was suspended in July.
What happened in July?
So I hit, and what's funny about this, I remember this specific, I hit 1,500 followers on my first account that one day. And then I got suspended. So I've staged like 2 or 3 fake fight announcements on my Twitter. And this was the first one that I'd done. And I said in it that Chase Hooper and Ben Davis will not be fighting at UFC, 268, whatever the fuck it was that I said. And then I tagged Trent Reinsmith. I don't know how to say his name. I'm sorry, Trent.
We don't say his name on the show.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And Luke Thomas. And I tagged them. And I thought that it was a joke because I said, nah, we're not fighting. It's not a fake fight announcement if you just fucking read it, Luke. But Luke responds in like 2 seconds. And he said, I did not verify this. I was not a source of this or something like that, and blocked me instantly.
Oh, no.
I'm still blocked. And I don't hate Luke, but I would love to not be blocked by him.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like I follow Morning Combat, like his fucking podcast or whatever. I was like, damn, it's kind of a bummer seeing him on my feed and then be blocked by him. But so that, and then Trent got so upset about it that he kept replying to everybody that had thought it was funny or thought it was comedic. Dude, he went to war.
Oh my God,
one of his tweets had 42 quote tweets on it. Yeesh. 42.
Chill, Luke.
You said, I know. Chill. Luke, I'm like, bro, come on. So that was what got me suspended because oh my God, I didn't even really explain why I got suspended. That's not really what did it. What did it was people were applying and they were like, oh, Chase is gonna break your neck. And so I would reply to them and say, I'm gonna break your neck. Like harassment. I was just like flipping what they had said Chase would do to me back onto them. And Twitter obviously thought that I was threatening people. And so, they took me out instantly. I had never had a warning before that, never had an instance.
It's just like one strike, you're out.
Oh my God. And at the time I was working at Amazon. And so I'm like in this fucking high visibility vest and I'm just sitting there. And like what got me through a lot of those 12-hour days was like going on Twitter. Just fucking around on Twitter. Yeah. And so then I was looking at my account and I realized I couldn't do anything. And I was like, oh my God. So no, yeah, it's insane to me that I was able, to hit 1,500 that day, reset pretty much. Like this account that I'm on right now was my Twitch Twitter account.
Okay.
So that's where, when I say rebranding, I guess that's where really it's displayed the most. Was this account had 130 something followers in July, and now it's just hit 5,000 today, which is crazy. So yeah, I don't know. It means a lot, and we're not done yet, baby. Bane gang gets
exactly. That's what I want to say is because when I started my Lock of the Night thing, it has transformed so much. I started back in 2017, and it has transformed so much into multiple shows now. I do freaking like 4 live streams a week, just talking about betting MMA and all that stuff. And now I'm just about to start up another show with my guy Die Hard MMA, Clint. We're going to be doing more of a talk show type of thing where we're just sitting and chopping it up and talking about whatever's going on in the world. I had no idea it would get to that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I had no idea that I could make a career out of it. You know what I mean? You fucking started getting ad revenue from YouTube and all that type of stuff. Like that was way beyond my vision. I had no idea
Yeah.
I could do that. For you, when you started this thing, you said it started with Twitch, but like since you got into this Bane character in a sense, has your goal changed in terms of what you want to do? I'm here, motherfucker. This is what I want to do.
No, it's this is something. So I did sports broadcasting in high school.
Okay.
I was the president of this multimedia club called NDP Live. My brother had started the year before and he graduated. I took over and they just did weekly announcements, right? Like, oh, the ballerinas are going to be doing a showcase on Friday night. Go check it out. The football team, great performance over the Bulldogs. Some, just random things that no one gave a fuck about. And so when I became the president, I realized that we needed to put out more types of content to, just not be hated as a club, just have a better rep on campus.
Yeah.
And so there were a couple really, really cool things that we got to do. One of which was, broadcasting the home varsity games.
Okay.
So we would get our cameras, we'd go set up and just broadcast it onto the high school's YouTube. And so after the first one, I realized how boring it was because it's just silence for 3 hours of a football game. And, I, again, at the time had the acting, had the improv experience. And I was like, look, I think that there's some transferable skills that I have. And so being the president, I just sort of made an executive decision and grabbed the microphone the next broadcast and, did the play-by-play for it. And I wasn't good. I wasn't particularly skilled at football.
But it's a damn good place to start, right?
It's a great place to start. And the reps that I got were invaluable because I was doing it 3 to 4 times a week. I mean, we did football, basketball, baseball, lacrosse, women's volleyball. We did a wrestling meet. I think they did tennis once. Like it was every sport, every home fucking varsity sport we got to cover. And while at the time it was somewhat, the only thing I can say is inconvenient. I won't even say frustrated. I loved it. You know what I mean? It's just inconvenient because it was such a time investment during high school. Taking 3 to 5 hours out to go broadcast and then drive home and then try to do homework and not fail my test the next day. You know what I mean? Which I did on a couple occasions. But like that's where I really started with the commentating. And then throughout college, like I said, I just realized that finance wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I did a 1.5 years interning for a commercial real estate firm. I interned at Amazon over the summer of 2021. And I'd done numerous other things on campus, and I just realized it wasn't for me. It wasn't where I felt the most happy. I didn't feel very passionate about what I was doing. And so then the esports stuff had been going very well for me over this year. And I started with like the smallest leagues possible on the UFC 4 esports scene. Aggro, started with them, got an opportunity to go to Cage Rage, which is another smaller league. Then UFL, Primetime, and then ESFL, which is the UFC's affiliated one. They called me and they let me do a show. And then I got to do a tournament, got to call with Robin Black. I was able to get him for a broadcast, and that was an insane opportunity. And I realized, I was like, you know what, this is going pretty well. And I can't not recognize that within a year, I went from being nothing in this scene to being one of the main voices for the UFC's affiliated esports channel. Right. So then I started to take it a lot more seriously. And like we were talking about earlier with the media shit with Bellator and trying to get that going. And then Tarps off, I've been working with them and they approached me about this. And I was like, this is a fantastic opportunity.
I'm glad that you kind of segued into that. Is like, how did the relationship with Tarps off begin? And how did you eventually get to that point where you're like, I'm doing commentary for these motherfuckers?
It started with disappointment. So what happened was, like we were also talking about, so I work as a public relations assistant for TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah.
And I had that in my Twitter bio because I thought it was like a really cool thing,
Of
right?
course.
And
I would too.
Right, yeah. And it wasn't false. So I was like, I'm not doing anything bad. I asked his publicist and I was like, should I have this on my bio? And he was like, I don't.
But you're just getting into the game, right? You want to be like, check these credits.
I was so excited and I just wanted it to be broadcast, and I was so proud of it, right?
Yeah.
And they run a podcast with Jake Shields, right? Former title challenger Jake Shields, great guy. And Jake's a big fan of Dillashaw, and they wanted Dillashaw on a podcast to chat with Jake and shoot the shit for a while. I escalated. Dillashaw wasn't interested. He doesn't do a lot of media, but I stayed in contact with them. And so we always kept in touch, always interacted. And then they invited me onto a fight companion. And I had a great fucking time. We're just drinking beers, watching fights, just palling around. I mean, it genuinely was so much fun. And, you know, it was really crazy. I was stunned sometimes at the numbers that they would do,
Oh, wow.
you know, because we did one for Fury versus Wilder 3.
Okay.
And the Facebook view count was like 73,000 views at
Holy
the end
shit.
of it
Wow.
for a fight companion.
That's insane.
I was like 73,000 people
Yeah.
for a
Yeah,
fight
yeah.
companion, you know? So, I mean, they're doing fantastic. They're a great business. And I was just happy to be along doing the fight companions. And then they talked to me about the Tarps Fight Club that they're starting. And they were like, look, you've talked a ton about your esports experience. We need a play-by-play guide. Do you want to come on? And I was like, oh shit, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and so here we are.
That's fucking dope. So this is your first time doing a legitimate MMA event. Is that correct?
Yeah, calling an actual mixed martial
Yeah.
arts event, which is a bit nerve-wracking, sure.
I asked you when I first got here, I'm like, what's the preparation been like? And I would love for you to share that to
Absolutely.
the viewers
Yeah.
as well too. Like, we know Anik, whenever he does his stuff, he's like always tweeting out little cards and stuff and saying that, you know, hard work goes into it. And I'm sure, I know you're a big fan of him, and obviously you got some inspiration from him and motivation from him. How has it been for you in terms of preparing for the card?
It's been very, very straightforward. It's
Yeah.
just a tedious process. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I think that what a lot of people imagine, I guess these commentators do to prep, that's what it is. It's just a lot longer than people think. So it's watching fights back. It's simply writing down notes about their style, Googling a shit ton. I mean, I went to like the 9th or 10th page on Google for one fighter, just like scrolling back, seeing all this information I can get about him, and then meeting with the fighters last week. I think we met a week and a half ago. And that's really when, you know, you get a lot of the work done and a lot of the story and history behind these guys. I had a call with Brendan Fitzgerald right before I left, actually. Fantastic guy.
Love that
he's
guy.
Truly
love Brendan.
Such a great commentator. And, you know, he and I chatted, and again, it's really simplistic. He was like, just, you know, less about the research, but more about the on-screen stuff. He was like, just be energetic. And so that's what I've been trying to do. Just with all the prep, all the interactions, everything leading up to it, I'm just trying to be as positive, happy as possible.
My thing is like to be prepared to talk for 15 minutes, potentially 15 minutes of a fight of guys that you almost know nothing about. Like, would you say the fighter interview was kind of massive for you in terms of being able to extract as much information so you actually have some of the talks on the talk about on the broadcast?
For some of them,
yeah.
For some of them, some of these guys gave us like great nuggets that we could just dig into for a period of time. But there's one guy in this card, I don't want to name him because he seemed like a super great guy, but man, he's just so soft spoken. You know, he just doesn't give an answer that's more than like one word or two words.
Help me help you.
Literally, I was sitting there and I was like, he's not answering fucking anything. We were like, what's your dream fight? He was like, no dream fight. And I was like, what are your goals? And he's like, I just like training. I'm like, dude, come on.
You know, I'm trying to convey this to the broadcast
completely. Yeah.
Right?
So I will say, not to progress into a different area of conversation, but the thing that I'm nervous about the most, and what I'm most concerned about, what I've expressed to these guys, is just kind of the in between. You know, I feel weirdly comfortable and confident about calling the fights themselves.
Yeah.
And during the fights, I feel like my play-by-play is going to be really solid. I'm sure that there's going to be holes. I'm sure I'm going to make some mistakes and errors and things like that. I can't expect a great first show by any means. But the thing that I really don't have experience with is the in between. So
yeah, the filler.
Yeah, because with esports, bro, it's like it's just 20%. You just go, you go and go and go. And because it's digital, there's no human element. There's no big walkout. I mean, these guys just press A 4 times and they're inside the octagon. Like you don't need to go into the backstory as much, really. And so, yeah, with a fighter walkout and that potentially taking 3, 4, 5 minutes, even going through all of the checks, you know, whistles and bells, that's, you know,
that's where you're hesitant.
We're going to see what happens.
Yeah,
we've got a production meeting, I think, with the crew. And we're going to go through like every aspect, I hope. And so that should calm all my nerves. But in the event that I sound like a bit unsteady in places, that's likely.
Like, it's not like you have a desk to throw to like the UFC broadcasts have, right? Like,
it's
literally you from the first fight all the way, not even the first fight, like right before.
Probably right before, introing the whole card and shit. And that I will say, I'm glad that we've got Diana and Jack alongside. This is a 3-person booth is great. I think 2-person booths are fantastic. I think if I get enough time under my belt, a 2-person booth would be great for these regional shows. But 3-person to start things off is good because then you just bounce right off of each other. And we'll see what happens. But Diana's great.
I'm just about to get
yeah.
into that. That was kind of my next question here. Obviously, you've met her already. You guys have had conversations.
Finally, yeah, we got to touch bases.
Yeah. Have you guys discussed in terms of like the broadcasting thing, or is that something you guys are going to go over in the production meeting?
Well, I hope to go over it.
Yeah.
She was, we get the House of Champions. Where Crew owns it. We're getting the octagon. We're building it.
Shout out Crew Lynn.
Shout out Crew, dude.
House of Champions. Those guys are.
Dude, he's fucking hilarious, man. He's a really, really great guy.
For sure.
But we get there and we're talking with Tom Theocharis, who unfortunately his fight did fall apart, which fucking blows. Tom's a fantastic guy. That was the second opponent we tried to get for him.
Yeah.
It just didn't work out, unfortunately. But hey, Tarps off Fight Club too.
Yeah, exactly. It's coming.
That's all I'm saying. But so Diana, we get in there, we're talking with Tom, and she's just on the treadmill in the back. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Just like Gog's like she's in go mode. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna say I was intimidated, but I looked over and I saw her and I was like, I'm not gonna go over there and initiate. But we go over, we chat for a little bit. We're just chopping it up. Super funny, and I feel like based on that one interaction, I think we've got good chemistry. So I think it'll work out on the broadcast. But I will say I was nervous, man, because for me, the best esports shows that I've had have been with guys that I ran a couple booths with. You know what I mean? Like Bruce Lee Rob, one of the best guys that the ESFL has. I've worked with him several occasions, and the last show I did, the owner was like, dude, that was one of the best broadcasts we've had ever. You know what I mean? And I was like, that's because Rob and I have a ton of experience. So that was my one big thing, is that me and Jack, I mean, on the Fight Companions, we've gotten a little chemistry in terms of calling shit, but I was like, damn, I've never called things with her. You know what I mean? So we're going to see how it goes. It'll be a fun experience regardless, man. I'm just going to go in there, do as much as I can, and it should be fun.
Well, she has the prerequisites to kind of be a commentator in a sense.
Oh, completely.
And, she knows the moves, she knows the techniques, she knows all that stuff. So I think it's going to come a little bit more natural to her. And then it's on you almost to kind of bring that out of her. I mean, like whether there's a technique that's happening inside the cage that you're like, okay, Deanna, what's going on here?
That's exactly what Brendan Fitzgerald said. He was like, when you're working with these analysts, they sometimes need to be prodded to give the full breakdown of what this move means, what mission control, how do you get out of that, and different things. So I think that's probably going to occur, is someone's going to get a takedown, they're going to get to a position, I'm going to be like, all right, Belbita, what's going on here?
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait to hear that. I'm actually going to be at the show myself, so I won't be able to hear the commentary, but I'm hoping that
you're fighting. You heard you're fighting, right?
Am I
Tom, get in here. No.
Just fucking screw off and all that stuff. So let's talk about the fighters specifically.
Absolutely, sure.
Which fight or fighter are you most excited to see step inside the cage this weekend?
So this is one that's shared between all three of us, I believe. Nikki Heinrichs versus Mustafa Al-Shamari.
That kid, I've seen that kid fight actually a couple months ago in BTC, and
just dominate.
Brings a crowd. I will tell you this.
There are like 100 fucking people there for him. Literally,
he brings a crowd.
The Mo Show, baby. You can't miss the Mo Show.
Exactly.
And dude, Tricky Nicky is a fun fucking guy. Like this cat is wild. We were talking to him and doing the fighter meetings, and he just had us rolling with the shit he was saying. We asked him what his dream fight was, and he said himself.
Just a clone of himself.
Literally, he was like, "I'd love to clone myself and fight myself," and I was like, "What the hell?" It's
some
just
Anderson Silva shit.
Literally just a crazy fucking guy, So him and Mustafa had a face-to-face Zoom call. They did like a little fighter meeting with them, and they were going back and forth, just verbally trading. But the thing was, they kept it super playful. I don't think that there's any bad blood necessarily. Both guys were like, I'd love to be friends after this, but I think that they're really going to come in there, stand and bang. Each predicted a first round knockout. So I don't think it's going past the first 5. I'll be surprised, but that's the one that, dude, I'm so excited for that fight.
I know Mo absolutely brings it. Watching the fight that he had last time around, that kid is a fighter. The fight show that I went to, they only had 4 fights on the card because they had a ton of issues with the commissioner and all that type of stuff, and they had a bunch of them fall off. So there was only 4 fights, and the combined record of all 8 of those fighters was 1-0. Like literally so many
so guys debuting,
literally. So I think Mo was one of the guys that was debuting that night as well. But you could see the levels in terms of like MMA, right?
Completely.
You can see which guys want to be in there and which guys don't, and you can find it out within the first 2 to 2.5 minutes. And more often than not, I think the easiest way to lose for a person is by giving up their back and going for the rear naked choke. How many rear naked chokes did we have that night, Bane? 4. 4. 4. What's a rear naked choke? Out of 4, because the other guy quit, gave up his back, and just gave up his neck, because that's the easiest way, least damage, all that type of stuff. easy submissive position for them as
Yeah,
well.
if you want to get out of there, boom, just give up your back. You'll get out of there in no time. You know
Shout
what I
out
mean?
to these guys for even stepping in there. I mean, like I've done some boxing training myself. You said you've been doing MMA training for about a year. I can't imagine getting punched in the face. Like I'm over here like trying to start like block body shots and shit, and these guys are like lighten me up.
Like, no, it's funny because especially when you think about the 4-ounce gloves, there's just no padding, bro. There's no padding. My dumbass goes sparring and gets fucking knocked down with headgear, and someone's got 16-ounce gloves. I'm like, could you imagine if I take a 4-ounce glove? I'm done. I'm dead.
Exactly.
You'll be visiting me in the cemetery. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. But no, what's interesting about that fight with Mustafa, and I think the dude was Joe Gauthier. It was
yes.
Joe. So if you watch this, sorry man, I'm gonna clown on you for a second.
Oh, no.
So Joe. In the lead up, right? BTC does this great job of like having these fighter visuals, and they've got like this good camera work, these great monologues and things like that, voiceovers by the fighters. And this dude Joe was like, "I've dedicated so much to." He was debuting, I think, right? Yeah. So he was like, "I've dedicated so much to." He's 37, by the way, as well. He's debuting at 37. That's
you know
I should have mentioned that before. Yeah.
You know what's happening when you have a 37-year-old against a like 20-something-year-old kid,
right? It's like they're not.
Just saying.
Not saying anything, but it's pretty obvious. But he was saying he was like, I got my PhD 2 times over, and then get submitted in the first round. I'm like, man, you should have gotten your fucking PhD, bro. You should have gotten 2 PhDs.
This ain't working out, bro. This ain't no random.
That's better than getting steamrolled by the Mo Show, baby. That's better than getting ruined.
So you were saying, I think it was Nikki that you were saying that is kind of like the most.
It's just intriguing. It's just intriguing. Yeah, because it's like he took 10 years away from the sport. He competed in his teens.
Yeah.
All of his 20s, really, he was removed from combat sports. Had an amateur fight earlier this year, lost. But, you know, when we were chatting with him, he was like, look, I came into that with a couple injuries, as a lot of fighters do. I mean, it's rare that a fighter goes into the cage 100% healthy, right? But so he said he had a couple issues with his ribs going into it, and then put on a great fight. I mean, it was a really good back and forth from what he said. And after the fight, his opponent's team comes over and is like, they're like, dude, you got to keep going. Oh, like, wow. You got to keep. And so he was like, the respect that, you know, I had gained with them, and the fact that they said something like that just motivated him. And he was like, look, making the comeback after 10 years, he was like, win or lose, that was the greatest moment of my life. So I think he's fighting for so much tonight to get the hand raised this year and to come back and be victorious. Well, it's not his comeback fight necessarily.
Yeah.
I think with a win, he can sort of say, man, now I'm back in mixed martial arts. Late in the game, of course, right? I think he's mid-30s right now. But if he beats a guy like Mustafa, that's a massive statement. That's a huge fucking statement from Nikki. And same with Mo. Mo's got huge dreams. Mo wants to be a UFC champion, right? A lot of the guys on this card, we talked to them, and again, it's a regional scene, right? Yeah. It's a regional card. And some guys admitted they don't have those goals. They don't have the aspirations of being UFC champion. But Mo was one of the few that was like, look, I think I can get there. And so he's got a lot to prove, not only to himself, but to everybody, right? To make those statements continuously, right? Keep finishing guys on this regional circuit and earn that fucking shot. And, you know, I think both guys have a great chance of doing it. And like I said, I'm just excited. That's the thing. I haven't picked any winners necessarily on this card.
I don't know if you can.
I don't know if I can. Yeah, right.
You want another 209 tattoo or something?
Yeah, right. Oh,
John Anik style.
I'll make a tattoo bet one day, but definitely not on this card.
I will say this. So I've been around the regional MMA scene in Ontario for the past maybe 10 years, 11 years. It's been very difficult for a lot of promotions to take off, right? I mean, they do like 3-4 shows and then they just fade away because it's just so difficult to sell MMA to people that only watch the UFC, right? Like I compare it to like the NCAA compared to the NBA, right? That's pretty much what the regional scene is. Shout out to the NCAA in the States. Obviously it takes off there. College sports here is dog shit. You know what I mean? Like nobody watches. I don't even know what my college school is doing, how well they're doing or anything like that. But it feels like you guys have a legitimate backing and you guys have a pretty solid cast of guys put together to be able to make this successful. Shout out to BTC Sport because BTC Fight Promotion, because they're one of the few promotions that have been able to do it consistently for the last several years. I think they're on show 14 or 15.
Yeah, they just had 13 last month, so they're on 14.
Yeah,
which
so I had I was a part of the Score Fighting Series, which had maybe 10 or 11 shows. Then Rogers bought the Score. Rogers already had to deal with the UFC. They shut down the Score Fighting Series. We had a ton of great fighters on there. Elias Theodorou came from there. Not Sam Styles, sorry. There's a bunch of Canadian guys that compete on there. Alex Ricci, Jason Saigo, a bunch of those guys eventually made it to the UFC, but then they shut down shop. Then I started working for another company called Substance Cage Combat, where we had 2 events. Just couldn't turn over the money to do another show, and the owner was literally doing it bare bones just so he can get guys fights. couldn't cut it after that. But luckily, BTC is showing up. You guys are showing up as well, and I'm hoping that I can eventually talk to the guys that run it. But do you have any idea in terms of what their future plans are? Like, are they sticking in Canada? Is this a Canadian promotion, or are you guys hoping to do some shows down in the States?
We're definitely going to be focusing both countries, I think.
Okay.
Again, I'm not super in.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not expecting you to break any news here, but like
Yeah,
in terms of what you know about the show, like, is there?
I'll text them and see if they're back and if they want.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to chop it up for about 5 minutes or so. Shout out to the guys that we already have in here. If you guys have any question for Bane, let me know. This is a little bit more difficult in terms of monitoring the comment section. I'm talking to my guy and giving him the as much as possible. So shout out to everybody that's already in here. We actually got a $5 donation from somebody. So shout out to you guys if you really enjoy what my guy Bane is saying here. We're enjoying our Modelos. We obviously have. So what is your schedule for the next 2 days? Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday is fight day. What are you doing over the next 2 days?
I'm not sure.
I don't know if I should say that.
I know. Yeah. We'll see. It's pretty much just tag along with whatever they got going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, I showed up, and then the next morning we were out building the octagon.
yeah, exactly. Dude, I remember that's exactly what my thing was too. It was like kind of wild card. Like obviously I wasn't a commentator or anything like that, right? I did like logistics manager and all that type of stuff, but like it doesn't matter. Like you might have to build the octagon.
Yeah, for me as a play-by-play commentator, doing that my first day in Canada, really building the fucking octagon, I feel like that's like a special part of the story of this week. You know, it's such a special time for me. And like I touched on earlier, this is the biggest opportunity that I have right now. And I'm not going to lie, I'm quite bullish in the sense where if I can stick the landing on this broadcast, I'm very optimistic about what 2022 can hold for me, you know, with opportunities in play-by-play in the States and around. I mean, that might be thinking, I'm not thinking too far ahead necessarily, maybe exaggerating the outcome of this, but you know, on Fight TV and at Scotiabank Convention Center and with some of these great guys that are fringe UFC level, like Hudson and Imperato. I mean, I truly believe that if I can excel here with the backing that I have, I mean, with the support from people like Fitzgerald and everybody on Twitter, I think that this could be a great chance to bounce from this to another show. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, building that kind of was super funny because I was like, I don't know if a lot of play-by-play guys do that.
but honestly, this is a great thing to add to your portfolio on a legitimate stage as well, too, right? So I'm very excited for your opportunity to do that and hopefully gain something. Is there something that you're looking for in this particular gig that you're like, I'm hoping that I can acquire this kind of skill in a sense? You know what I mean? Like you already have the confidence. It's more so just getting the reps in at this point in time, right? Like I think exposing yourself to it.
It's just, repetition, having opportunities and finding them. Within the regional MMA scene, commentating gigs are fucking scarce, you know? And that's why this one was equally as special, is because I've tried, man. I mean, I've DM'd a ton of different.
I see you hustling on Twitter.
I have no shame, bro. I've got no shame. When Bellator was in town, I was like, "Hey, Coker, let's make some history, baby." You know, like I've got no shame in it because I know that this is such a hard industry to break into.
There's only a select few spots, right?
Completely. And I talked to TJ DeSantis, who's Invicta's guy, and one of the things that he was mentioning to me was like, in a roundabout fashion, it's a small community, so everybody knows each other pretty well, you know. And if you get an opportunity to displace somebody from that, it's kind of viewed in an, I don't want to say negative fashion necessarily, but like, I'm not here to take anyone's position. I just believe that I have the skills and at this moment in time, raw ability that can be cultivated, developed, and enhanced.
You're so young.
You know, that's what I'm saying.
You're so young. You still have so much ahead of you in terms of the gigs that are going to come your way, the experience to accrue, and then eventually the networking to be able to kind of put it all together, and then eventually find yourself in a bigger spot. 5 years down the road, 4 years down the road, whatever it may be.
Exactly. It's just I need someone to give me an opportunity, and these guys have done it, and I'm so incredibly thankful. And Tarps off 2, Tarps off 3, Tarps off 4. I'll be there, but my aspirations are the top of this scene. And in terms of like timeline, and this is something I told Fitzgerald, I was like, I don't have like it for me, it's more of a realistic timeline. I don't think I'll be at the UFC fight night in 3 years calling shit.
Yeah.
Like if I could get consistent work and have this be a developing side for me, LFA in 3 years would be fantastic. And I feel like that's a realistic goal. That or Contender Series. I feel either of those are on that same platform of like achievable. And so,
what I think you have going for you that these other guys don't is that you have a personality in terms of Twitter Twitch, all that type of shit. People know you. People enjoy your work. People know that there's another wrinkle to your game rather than just calling fights or whatever the hell it might be. You have a comedic aspect to it as well, right? There's guys that are just so cut and dry sometimes where they just call what they see, but I feel like you're going to be able to add a little bit more to pizzazz or whatever you want to call pizzazz.
Yeah,
right?
You know, I always try to interject a different level, a different flavor into the fights that I call on the esports side of things. Like I approach commentating shit probably the same way that I think fighters might look at how they approach a fight, because I view it in that same regard. I hold it to almost that same standard for myself. It's a performance. You know, when I was doing Twitch, I saw so many people streaming where they would just sit there and they wouldn't say anything. And I'm like, how the fuck are people watching you? You're not entertaining.
That is so hard to do, though. Like literally game and talk. Probably one of the harder things to do. I don't know how the fuck you guys do it.
You game poorly. You do shit. That's how you do it.
Like I pulled up your Twitch down earlier just to like see what else I can find about you. I saw you were playing Halo like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Like, is that something that you still want to kind of bank on? Is kind of try to build a foundation there? Yes
and no. You know, I stream so infrequently now that when I do stream, it's purely just because, you know,
you're gaming and you have the time.
Why not? Yeah. I anytime I stream, it's because I'm gaming. Anytime I game, I'm typically streaming. Like, I don't really game too often. But when I was doing it pretty consistently, I mean, there was a lot of structure that I put into it. I did and it's so dumb looking back on it. I did a 24-hour stream in May. So from May 7th to May 8th, I did this 24-hour stream. Yeah, I know. And it's not like I had a ton of followers. I had like 240, and I wanted to celebrate 240 by doing a 24-hour stream. And a lot of people would probably be like, 24 hours, I'll do 12. I've
done 12 before, and that shit's a pain in the ass. The fact that you did 24 hours, I like had all these guests planned out. And it was like a year-end thing. I think I did it last year, if anything. And I just had all these people come on for like 20 minutes at a time. And we just talked about what was your favorite fight of the year, blah, 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 all this type of shit. And I was struggling, dog. Yeah. You did 24 hours?
24, man. And but that same concept of I structured every single hour out. You know what I mean? I had 24 different things. I had challenges that I had to do within each hour. Like I was active the entire time. It was a very dynamic setting for 24 hours. And the only time that I got tired was, I shoot you not, hour 23.
Oh, wow.
The last hour, I do this game called fucking Scribble.io, which is, it's a game like Pictionary.
Okay, where you just draw something and they have to figure out what it is.
The viewers will draw something, and it's like a online 4 or 5 people can hop in and go back and forth. And the issue with that was because I wasn't active. Right, there were parts of it where I was just sitting there and as a passive experience, and that's when everything just started to fucking hit. And I mean, I was dead by the end of it. But I approached streaming with that element of I need to make it entertaining for 24 fucking hours. I know people aren't going to watch the entire fucking time. You know what I mean? But my own personal standard is entertaining. It's performing, and I've translated that directly to commentating in the esports side of things.
In terms of getting your reps done for the commentating side of things, what do you kind of do? Like, you're not going to be able to call a fight every single fucking night. Like, do you just sit at home and you're just kind of staring at a fight or something and trying to call it or something? Like, what kind of goes into help you practice and be ready for fight night? Or is it just your confidence where you're like, I'm preparing, I have all the notes that I need, I trust in myself and my skills, I should be able to deliver on fight night?
My biggest thing is I don't want to overthink it. And so if I did that, or I was sitting here and I'd pull up, you know, Swanson versus Doo-Ho Choi on Fight Pass and was trying to replicate that, I just don't want to overthink it. I have, like I said, I have a weird confidence in what I can do, and I just want to go in there and seem like I've done it before, seem like I've got experience with doing it, and not to make it, you know, not to while I'm commentating Saturday night act like it's not a big deal, but just not seem like it's my first time, not be super forced, not be super structured to certain things. I just want to be able to flow. I just want to be able to exist in that state and, you know, call it as I see it and just roll with the broadcast. I think that the worst thing that I can do is over prepare and overthink, because then I psych myself out. And man, I've been there. I mean, I've been there with certain things. I've filmed a ton of shit for Twitter where I'll overthink it. I'll try to edit it, make it together, and it just won't work. I did a Chael Sonnen impression video.
Oh no.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I gotta hear this actually. I'm not sure if I've heard it already.
It wasn't good. I don't know. I can't. I know.
I'll do it on the drop of a dime.
No, I can't do that one on the drop of a dime. But I filmed this video and I thought it was such a good concept, and I might do it in the future.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where I was filming take after take after take after take, and it just wasn't landing. It wasn't feeling right. And I was like, now I'm at a point where I'm overthinking and I need to stop, and that's sort of how I felt about the preparation, especially considering that with these regional guys, it is difficult to find a lot about them, to see fights of some of these athletes, and so I'm just going to go in there on the night, and whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Like I said, I wish I could find my book. I could show you all the notes that I have. I don't know if you saw them when I was organizing earlier, but I did a ton of research I can't say the level that Anik does necessarily. He's got his flashcards. I have bullet points. I've got last 5 wins. I've got the dates. I've got, how many finishes they have, how many finishes, how many times they've been finished. I've got stats on, this person has never fought in December. This person has never made it past. I've got all of those random details. And because I feel like it was somewhat of an expectation, I do have random ass funny facts about some of these guys. I've got he has 2 children, Lisa and McDonald, which I will 100% be dropping because that plays into it, because it's fun, because it's somewhat comedic. And I think if I can interject those moments, not to
it will be like an ode to the Twitter community in a sense.
Sort of an ode, yeah. And that's, because I'm not going to be, and this isn't a slight on anybody, it's more of just a commitment and an obligation to trying to be as professional as possible.
Yeah. I'm
not going to have my Twitter open and be giving shout outs to people. I'm going to be very focused on it.
For sure.
There's going to be moments where it's intended for the people that are watching from Twitter.
Yeah. Because an Easter egg.
Exactly. Like a bit of an Easter egg, completely. And, for one thing, it's like, I know my dad, so my parents are holding like a little watch party at my house in Arizona, which it's so sweet. I mean, that's
awesome.
That means a lot to me.
For sure.
And for some of these lines that I do have somewhat prepared, like the family shit and other random attributes, it's more because I'm like, I know that'll make my dad laugh. So I'm like,
for me personally, when I do like my breakdown videos and all that type of stuff, I kind of take what you're saying in a sense that you just go in and don't overthink it. So I do my research. Sometimes I'll have bullet points. If there's a specific stat or statistic that I want to kind of point to when I'm doing that breakdown, then I'll have that written down.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm pressuring myself too much when I have like jot notes in front of me where I'm like, okay, I need to hit A, B, and C while I'm doing this breakdown. I just say, fuck it. I fucking turn on the camera. I do the work. I
trust in your abilities.
Exactly. I know I've done the work. I know the information that I need to know to convey to the people so that they can make educated opinions in terms of placing bets. That's ultimately what I'm trying to do, is give these guys as much information as possible. And I like your style in the fact of, you have your set of, things that you need to know that you can interject at any time, but just go with the flow. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, go with the flow and add in things as you see fit. I'm interested to see what your chemistry with Deanna is going to look like. Like in terms of, I don't think she's ever done anything like this, right?
So her experience, we were talking about it a little bit. I don't think she has commentating experience necessarily. And if she has, I hope she doesn't see this. sorry, D. But so she did work. I don't know if it was RXF or Kempo or something in Romania, but she was friends with a promoter or an organizer of fights. I wish I remember the exact details.
I feel like it was RXF because I think it was
RXF.
Krulin even is attached to a lot of people over there in Romania. So.
And they had her sort of do post-fight interviews where they would hand her a mic and she would sort of go interview the fighters. And she was like, most of the time I didn't even know their names. So she would just be like, "How was the fight?" Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think I'm excited about it. I think we've got some really good chemistry. We've messaged a decent amount over the last month and a half, 2 months, and it was so nice meeting her. I wish that we had a chance to sort of catch up with her a bit more, but I mean, she's got the DePaula fight in February, and so
that's what I mean. I kind of found that interesting that she's gonna be doing this, but again, it's still, when is that? January, February?
I think it's February.
It's February, so she still has a little bit of time in terms of doing that. My guy Cameron Brick is asking, what's the best regional promotion in Michigan? We're not in Michigan, dog. We're up here.
I wish I knew. I don't fucking know. Exactly. I'm from Arizona.
Exactly.
I don't have a finger on the pulse of Michigan. Ann Arbor Extreme Fighting. That's where you want to go.
I think they have a promotion called like WXC or something, like Wednesday Night Fights or something like that. I love it. My guy L Paso Numba 1 is saying, I have Fight TV from the Tried Fights. Time to tune in on Saturday. Exactly. You're going to be seeing my guy Bane doing his handiwork on the sticks over there. So make sure you guys go check him out. We'll wrap this thing up in less than 5 or so minutes. Let's just talk some UFC. Let's just fucking talk about what's going on. So one thing I was talking about or thinking about on the way here, talking to myself in the car.
You had a lot of time. I'm not surprised you did.
One thing I was thinking about is, I've been seeing it all over Twitter the last couple of days. Charles Oliveira versus Khabib Nurmagomedov would be a great fight.
Yeah.
But why do we fantasize as MMA fans? We always fantasize about shit that probably will not happen.
Yeah.
I mean, super fights. Anderson Silva versus George St. Pierre. Maybe that was before your time in MMA, but in terms of
no, I watched that one live. I was there.
Exactly. Khabib versus Oliveira.
Yeah.
We know Khabib's not coming back. You know what I mean? Whether he needs permission from his mom or the fact that he's never going to be able to get down to 155 pounds again. There's certain things like that. Then the Jake Paul shit. Like, there's so much. What do you think it is about MMA fans in terms of fantasizing things that probably won't happen? We have so many other things to fantasize about that will happen.
So many are
we always
excellent.
reach for other shit.
Well, think about it this way, and this is a crude, obviously, example and analogy, which I'm sure you're already run into, but it's like with girlfriends. You know what I mean? It's the one that got away. You're always thinking about it. You're always like, man, she was, so great at holding hands.
I inserted that post-production.
It's like, I feel like it's that same principle of you just aren't happy with what you have because you didn't have that.
Yeah.
And it's less about whatever quality of that necessarily was. It's just that you didn't get it.
Yeah.
Right? Habib versus Oliveira. Yeah, it could be a great fight. It also could be a shit fight. Habib could take him down, ground and pound him. Boom. Like it's who knows if that fight would have been fantastic. It's unsure. And I really think it's just about the premise of we never got it. And so now we just extremely want it. And
but I think we have like a perfect, person to plug in. Islam Makhachev, right? Like he's pretty much Khabib 2.0 in a sense, right?
2.0. Yeah.
So we're still gonna get that fight. I saw a meme
where it was the glasses, the spider.
Yes.
Thing. Yeah. You know what? I'll say this. Yo, fuck everybody who keeps reposting that shit, man. Here's the thing. Because the original creator, his meme just keeps getting tossed around, and I don't like it. Because people, I don't know, man.
It's good content.
It's good content. Sure. He should have watermarked it.
Dude, speaking of content, one thing I think that you would thrive in is, do you have a YouTube channel?
I do. Yeah.
You don't post shit on it, do you?
I do.
Shut up.
I've got like 300 subscribers on it, which is funny. I put my finishing sequence on it.
Okay.
And then because I make those in Premiere and I upload them to YouTube and then I screen record it from YouTube and then post it on Twitter. It's a stupid fucking process.
And a half.
I know, dude.
I get it as a content creator. I get it though.
It's convoluted. So I did a finishing sequence of Iwan Kudulaba and Magomed Ankalaev.
Yes.
And that's got like 50,000 views on YouTube.
Holy fuck.
I know, yeah. I have no clue why. All the people keep commenting. It's in like Russian. It's in the language. I don't understand. It's like hieroglyphics. But it's one of those weird things where the YouTube algorithm just took that finishing sequence and spread it around. So I've gained a couple hundred subscribers because of that, but I don't use it very frequently.
I think you should, man. Like in terms of the fact that it will allow you to kind of broaden your platform and your exposure. I think that's a great play. Like half these people in the comment section don't even know who the fuck you are.
Right.
But they should, because I know within the next year, 2 years, you're probably going to pop off even more. And the fact that you'll have a YouTube following, which you'll be able to make some money off of as well. And you have the finishing sequence kind of thing too, right? That's a great way for you to kind of plug yourself and people to kind of.
I have the demonetizing finishing sequence.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
It's one of those things. I hold myself. Here's the thing with money. I'm really not looking at it right now. You know, it's not my focus. It's not my priority. It's not what I'm chasing. I'm 22. My parents have done a fantastic job of financially supporting me. I can focus on other areas. And for me, it's just the content. It's just creating the best content that I have, or I can rather, and not necessarily for the point of making money. I can relate to you in the same exact way when your YouTube was starting to develop and bring in revenue, because that's what happened with Twitch. Because when I was doing it super consistently, there were a number of people who were donating subs and giving bits and things like that. And I
never understood that. I've never been into Twitch enough to be like, the fuck is a bit?
You just don't fucking get it, okay? It's a bit.
Is it money? Does that mean like bits of cents? I don't know.
You get to bring it to the Twitch store and redeem it for a fucking beanie. No.
Oh, you get a special emoji for this shit? Damn.
That's another thing I got scammed on.
Oh no! Come on,
I've spent like $50.
Do you need a manager? Like
I think
can help you out.
Man. Yeah, that's why I'm not focusing on money, is because I'm terrible with it. No, it's when one dude donated 50 subs one night, which subs are like $5 each. You know what I mean? So that came in, and I was like, why? Why are people giving
they enjoy your shit.
money for this? And you know, I don't want to sound, you know, any sort of way rather, but it's because I just have that dedication to being a performer and I value people's time. And that's the most important thing for me is like their time.
Yeah.
Right. They can't get that back. You can get money back.
Yeah.
You can get so many fucking things back. But if someone gives you their time, you're not going to get that back.
Yeah.
And so anytime that I would go live, whether it was one person or 100 people, it's give all that you have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so tie it back into Tarps Off Fight Club, one Brawl by the Falls.
Let go.
That's the exact same way I'm going to approach it. It's if people are tuning in Fight TV, if people are at the fucking Scotiabank Arena Center, you know, Convention Center, I have to maximize their time and give them the best that I fucking have. And that's going to include errors. Again, I'm sure I'm upfront, man. I'm transparent. I'm going to make a couple mistakes probably, but I'm going to do the absolute best that I fucking can because they deserve it. The people watching back in Arizona that came to, you know, my house to watch this, they deserve the best that I have to offer.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to try to give it to them.
I don't know how else we can wrap this bitch up other than that, man. That's a damn good fucking go. That got deep. That got deep as fuck. I can fucking finish mine.
There's none there.
There's a sip. There's a sip. Let me get this done. So, Tarps Off Fight Club, #1, Saturday, Niagara Falls, Scotiabank Convention Center. Tickets still on sale. I believe they started about $60.
There's $700 for nosebleeds.
You get to meet Bane afterwards.
Get to meet me.
That's right, exactly. Make sure you guys check it out. Regional MMA, I love it. I'm a huge supporter of it, whether it's Tarps Off, whether it's BTC. I just want to watch fights in person. UFC, obviously, they probably won't be coming to you know, Southern Ontario anytime soon. I think they're going to be locking up borders sometime soon as well. We might get Bane as a full-time Canadian now.
Get back to the States.
I might have to get him some citizenship or something going on. But yeah, no, I'm very much looking forward to the fights. Last question for you, and then I'll let you go. What are you looking forward to most on Saturday night?
I'm looking forward most to the moment that I walk out and I see the cage put up. And I'm sure that no one else is going to be really in the arena or whatnot. I'm going to walk into the cage. I'm just going to do a 360, take it all in, and just sort of be like, I'm here.
Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
I love it. Tickets can be bought. The link is in the description below. Also, if you're not in the Southern Ontario region or even Buffalo or whatever the fuck is across the
Fight
Niagara
TV,
Falls
baby.
here,
Live on Fight TV.
Link is in the description below as well. Make sure you guys show some love over there. And then obviously show my guy Bane some love as well. I got all of his social medias tagged in the description below. As you guys can tell, an hour into the podcast here, the man is a legend. The man is just fucking amazing. I can't wait to see what you kind of morph into as the years go by and the experience starts to accrue. But Tarps Off Fight Club is where it's going to go down for the first night.
That's where it begins.
First night, MMA commentary from my guy Bane. Really much looking forward to that. Anything you want to say to the people on the way out?
Hey, put money on this guy's bets.
Hey, I've been a little cold. I won't lie. I've been a little cold, but we'll see how it goes this weekend as I haven't made my bets yet for the Lewis and Dawkins card. Quick prediction, Lewis Dawkins.
Oh, it's Tyrone. I'm going with Dawkins, man.
Dawkins it is. I'm probably going to be on the Dawkins side myself. On behalf of myself, Bane, make sure you guys go check out Tarps Off Fight Club. Like I said, all the links are in the description below. And hopefully we'll see you guys on Saturday night. If you guys see me there, say what up. I'll more than likely say what up too. And let's try to throw some eggs at fucking Ben.
Hit me with an egg. Hey, Ben the Bane Davis, hit me with an egg.
Exactly. All right. Appreciate everybody joining us. And yeah, let's have some fun this weekend.